Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Motivation, the show where we dive headfirst into the most amazing minds. And oh wow, what a mind do I have today! He is the founder and CEO of Plus 94 Research, a company that deals with all the analytics and research about how our amazing country is doing. But beyond that, he has created an incredible initiative called buildrsa.co.za. Yes, we have the most beautiful country in the world. We might be going through load shedding, we might be going through corruption, but we love South Africa. And today, we are going to figure out exactly how it is to build RSA. Good day, Dr. Sifiso Falala. How are you?
I'm well, thanks for having me, Mo. It's fantastic. What a beautiful studio. I look forward to the conversation that we're going to have this afternoon.
And your energy has just beautified it even more. So it's been brilliant to have you here. We've been speaking off camera. You've motivated me already. And I know after the show, our viewers are going to be so motivated. But I want to dive right into this. First of all, beyond the introduction that you were given, who are you and what is your mission?
Well, my mission is to build South Africa, or to play my role in building South Africa. I believe in freedom, that every person should have freedom of thought, freedom of action, freedom of choice. And I also believe in diversity because we are so different. And if everybody in their diversity has that freedom, then they can truly feel the breeze on their cheek, get that sense of the flowers during the day and experience life in the most beautiful way. So this is what I believe in, and I believe in action, as in those beliefs need to be transformed into outputs or key results. So that's why I'm here today to talk about how we can do that.
You know, someone watching today might be saying, okay, yes, we have to put things into action. But how do we go about putting things into action? Things are so difficult. There's a concept called learned helplessness. And this concept basically states that we are taught that we are helpless. As an example for our viewers, an elephant is captivated in India. And the small little elephant gets tied to a pole, and this chain gets put around the leg of the elephant. And as the elephant pulls and pulls and pulls, it hurts the elephant. So the elephant decides to stop pulling because the pain is too much. When the elephant gets bigger, one pull can take the entire pole out. But it's learned that it is helpless. Are we sitting in the situation where we have developed learned helplessness? Or is there a way for us to break out of this mold and say, you know what, we can build RSA?
Yeah, there is always a way. And I'm fascinated by that concept of learned helplessness because our approach to management of our society and also for our businesses and even government departments is based largely on a POLK principle. What is POLK? POLK is about planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. And that is a traditional way of managing a business and managing an institution. It's based on a hierarchy of individuals that operate based on the plans and the operations and the leadership and the controls. What that should be based on is very different. Our actions should be based on key objectives and results.
Okay.
Because Polk focuses on titles, focuses on roles, focuses on the politics and so on. And that does not necessarily infuse energy into operations. KOR says, what are our objectives? What are the key results? Very short and to the point.
Yes.
So as a society, I think we've lost sight of the objectives. We need to go back and refine and review and continuously speak about the objectives we have in any situation for the youth, for inequality, for jobs, for health, for crime, for the different challenges that we face. We need to look at the results. So we have learned very bad habits, one of which is that we had what happens to us done to us, that we're not completely in control. Somebody else is. Action is never a third party institution. Action is a first narrative institution. Action is something that you need to do. But we have tended to see action as a third party engagement. It's something that someone else has to do. They have to get rid of unemployment. They have to stop the racism. They have to stop the crime. They have to stop all of this gender inequality. What are we doing about it? So that is learned helplessness, where we now believe that our circumstances depend on the actions of someone else, and we have no role to play. I coined an expression last week, which is MTH, very simply standing for make things happen. You know, when you want to make things happen, you want to see a change, you want to see lights in your street. Try and do something about that. You may not have the resources, but there's something that you can do. So in South Africa, we tend to lack that capacity to take personally the responsibility of making things happen. It's always somebody else. It's always delegated to another party.
The blame game is very big in our life. Is it worldwide based on all the statistics that you have seen? Is it something worldwide where everyone's blaming everyone else for what's happening in their lives? Or is this actually something that is only in South Africa and for South Africa?
Maybe more in Africa, because if you look at older societies that were established many years ago, they have mature structures. And the mature structures tend to take care of basic infrastructure, such as relating to the hospitals, the health, the security, and the safety. And there's a safety net in those things, in that most of them do work, and hence it's called the first world. Whereas in the third world, because there was an exclusion of certain pockets of the population, as far as certain types of services are concerned, we are evolving towards a point where we can include everyone. And in so doing, there's a lot of stone throwing, there's a lot of bickering and unhappiness, but this helplessness then begins to show itself even more. And the result we have is from the fact that we feel this situation we are in was imposed on us. So we feel we are here because of somebody else. And therefore, whoever put us here needs to take us out. And yet, you will never be taken out of your situation by the person that put you there. You need to take yourself out.
I love how you have specific words for everything, but if there's a word that we could give our viewers to say, listen, this is how you take yourself out. How do you motivate someone who's stuck in the blame game, who's stuck in learned helplessness? They want to do something about it. They're constantly feeling, what would people say? They're constantly feeling that they are not good enough to be able to do it, or that they are powerless to be able to do it. If you were sitting with one person today and you could give them a piece of advice, what advice would you give them?
The one, well, it's not one word, but it's two words: problem solving. Our society is where it is today because of lack of problem solving skills. This manifests itself in many areas. You spoke of load shedding earlier, but unemployment. We have the richest continent and richest country in the world in terms of natural endowments, but because we can't solve problems such as beneficiation, such as trade deals which are favorable to South Africa, such as monetary financial systems, such as sustainable growth, environmental sustainability. We can't actually solve those problems. And it starts at a micro level with an individual being unable to solve simple family problems relating to their role in the community. So we need to fix our education system so that from primary school, it is focused on problem-solving skills.
I love that you're so passionate about the youth. It's something that I am passionate about as well, because that's our future. That is really our future. So if you're talking to people 40 plus right now, what advice could you give them to then try and change the youth and help the youth become the best versions of themselves?
I'd say to them, when you are already over 40, you've learned a lot, you have a lot of experience. The main role that you need to be playing now is mentorship. You need to take responsibility for your action and become more accountable, so that the youth can look up to you. Unfortunately, we have a society where we now have a leadership vacuum. The leadership vacuum is created by the youth when they look up, instead of seeing the stars, they see dark clouds. because the ones that are more mature, that are supposed to be leading the youths, they are not shining. So you need to shine. And the shining means that you need to plan well ahead of time. We tend to live too much in the past and too much in the present. We should be planning for the next generation and the generations after that and the generations after that. And the only way that you can be relevant to the youth is to have a vested interest in the future. So the leadership, everyone that is older, is to demonstrate that they have a vested interest in the future. And by virtue of the fact that you may not be there in that future, it's irrelevant, but you are a co-architect of the success or the failure of that future.
Plant trees under which shade you might not sit, right?
Absolutely, but at least maybe your grave might be under a shade.
That's brilliant. We need to take a short break. When we come back from the break, we're going to discuss what Build RSA is, how we can build South Africa. It's been informational, it's been phenomenal, it's been motivational. See you shortly. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. BuildRSA.co.za with Dr. Sifiso Falala. Dr. Sifiso, BuildRSA.co.za. It sounds phenomenal. Building something means that we got to put a concrete structure there. How are we going to go about doing this? And what is BuildRSA.co.za about?
It is a live chat platform for all South Africans, and they can access it from wherever they may be in the world. We created it specifically so that it is easily accessible. You just need an email address and a password of your choice in order to access the site, and you join the beautiful conversation about South Africa. The purpose of the platform is to engage in a dialogue that is different to the dialogue that we have seen. In South Africa, we tend to have what you might refer to as a dichotomous situation where there is always contest. We don't seem to agree on anything. On every situation, there's a left and there's a right. And there's a right and there's a wrong. But on Build RSA, we are saying we need new architects of the future. We are saying that the dialogue that we are having needs to be set by a totally different set of individuals. Okay. Because what we have found, which is damaging our country so much, is that agenda setting is top down. Okay. In other words, the agenda comes from the leadership. We are told what is important. We are told what to think. We are told how to think, and we are told when to think. But at Build RSA, what we are saying is that we want a diverse way and different way, which is bottom up.
Foundation needs to be strong.
The foundation needs to be strong. So we're getting where we thought that, oh, perhaps elections were important. Maybe they are important, but then you have people on Build RSA saying, but this is more important to me right now. Elections are coming in 8-10 months' time. Will I still be there? Can we attend to things that I need right away? So we are changing the agenda and we're making it broader. Because South Africa was built and destroyed by political machinations with very little involvement from society. But now we are saying that let it not be only politicians that have a say in what we are thinking, in what we want. Let it be civil society. Not everybody has political skills. Not everybody wants to be a politician, but everybody is interested in the future of South Africa, and everybody wants to contribute to the future, and it does not need to be through political channels.
Yeah. Wow, that is incredible getting the people involved, because we are 60 million plus people in this country.
Right.
Surely the entire country cannot be controlled by a few people from the top down. If you put the roof first, the house will collapse.
Absolutely.
We have to build a strong foundation. And we have the people, we have the skills, we have the knowledge, we have the insight, we have the foresight to be able to do this. And I'm sure you've seen amazing conversations on buildrsa.co.za, conversations that made you see it in such a positive light, in the light, excuse my pun, of our current situation in South Africa with load shedding, unemployment, with negativity spreading around us like wildfire. In this current light, in this current situation, how do we find positivity within ourselves to say, you know what, wait, there is something positive here, And we need to look for that positivity.
You know what? I am more positive now because I am on Build RSA. You know, I use the handle at Sifiso F. I wasn't as positive until I started using Build RSA because I realized that solutions are just a thought away. It just takes the imagination to transform from this morbid environment to one that is enlightened and one that has so much promise. And the ideas that we are getting are stuck in red tape, in bureaucracy, and the fact that those that are in authority, they take way too long to make decisions because they have to consult through hierarchical structures. So the solutions are sitting there with them. And one of the things that we can try and lubricate through conversation is a situation where they can expedite decision making.
Right.
I don't know if you've realized it, but you said earlier that technology has helped us leapfrog many years.
Yes.
While we have done that, you look at our infrastructure development, we are still on average about 50 years behind Western Europe
Okay.
in terms of just the facilities for the average South African. And now, but we don't act like we are 50 years behind. Otherwise, we would be acting like someone who's got a rocket on their backside.
Yes.
If we were actually conscious of the fact that we are racing against time. So the discussions there are giving me hope because we're producing reports and we're sharing the reports. Some of our reports are on the site itself. And we're discussing and having engagements about the contents and the recommendations. For example, if you look at energy in South Africa, we have an abundance of energy. But we have one ESCOM. We have an abundance of ways and means through which the energy could be distributed. And role players, some of which could even be previously disadvantaged entities. So the solution is not necessarily too complex. It's a lot simpler. What is more complex is opening airwaves and making it easy for the solution to be delivered. So I spoke earlier about being an advocate for freedom, for diversity, and for free thought and choice. Do we have that? Maybe Build RSA will help us to get to a point where we have more of this.
It's an amazing platform where people can actually share their thoughts because we feel so constricted and restricted in what we can say or what we can do. So giving people a platform like this will allow people to just share their thoughts. Maybe from there, an idea will build into something that will change this country completely. We might get a new ESCOM. We might be able to get something that helps someone. It's a great initiative that you're doing. What is the most interesting conversation that you have seen on Build RSA? Something that when you think about Build RSA, it just sticks out in your mind.
I think it's the conversation around the controversy that is Africa that nobody talks about. Africa is very controversial in the sense that it is the richest country in the continent, in the world. And South Africa is the richest country on the continent, but yet the poorest. What a dichotomous situation, what a controversy. And now you're trying to say, but how do you have the largest assets? When you apply for a loan, they say, what assets do you have? What collateral? We have so much collateral under the ground. How are you the poorest person in the world? So it's that dichotomy, trying to unbundle that, trying to explain that situation that I found most fascinating. And there are so many takes on it. Obviously, part of it is the lack of confidence. The other part, where you started more, when you said that you feel that you're tied down to failing. Is that the expression you used?
Yes.
Yeah, that's actually a part of it where we don't believe ourselves to be capable of bringing about the change we need, making things happen, and at the same time being the main protagonists in our own future. So that is where Build RSA is changing the perceptions and the belief. Because until we can believe it, it can never be done. Like Mandela said, until it's done, nobody believes that it can actually be done.
Definitely. And thoughts are so powerful. Really, they are, because our thoughts can change our perceptions on everything. And we really do become what our thoughts are, and thoughts do become things. And I love that you spoke about thoughts earlier. I love that you've taken your thoughts and given everybody a platform to be able to share their thoughts, because these thoughts can really become things. So I really just want to acknowledge you for the individual that you are, for the amazing work that you're doing. Wow, it is incredible. I know you are going to be able to build RSA one conversation at a time, giving people this platform to be able to do it. But before we end the show, there's a question that I ask all my guests at the end of the show. If this microphone of yours was connected to 8 billion people around the world for 30 seconds, what would your advice be to them?
I would say to them, let's give Africa an opportunity, and that Africa is not what many people think it is, and that there is so much potential in Africa that has been portrayed way worse than what it should be. Let's give Africa a stage on which it can shine.
Dr. Sifiso Falala, I am an African, and Africa is deep rooted within us. In Africa, we talk about Ubuntu. Ubuntu is something that we do need because we're all so scattered all over the show at the moment, and nobody is helping anyone. And earlier in the conversation, you spoke about it starts in a household, and a household then goes into a neighborhood, which then goes into a community, which then goes into a society, which then creates the country that we need to create. You have given people this little neighborhood to start in. And may this neighborhood grow into a massive community, which changes our society, which then builds RSA.
Thank you.
Build RSA.co.za. Once again,
Thank you.
thank you so
Thanks,
much for that. It has been incredible. I know that our viewers today are really inspired. We know we have a beautiful country. We need to take it upon us to build RSA from the foundation to the roof, and not the other way around. Because remember, the foundation of anything in life is your thoughts. Because in the Chinese proverb, it goes, thoughts become your words become your actions become your behavior becomes your character, and your character determines your destiny. So we be very, very careful about the thoughts that we have in our mind. Keep it positive, keep it motivated. This is Motivation, and let me motivate you.